All right, everyone. Hello and a very warm welcome. I'm your professor from the Zoology department here at Minio University, and I'm really looking forward to our session today. We're going to be diving into the world of invertebrate anatomy. Think of this as our virtual practical for your general zoology course. So let's get started. So, here's our plan for today. We'll have a quick welcome, and then we're going to get a really close look at two fascinating specimens, the sea anemone and then the planarian. And, most importantly, we're going to finish up by reviewing all the key English terms you'll need. Sound good? Let's go.
Okay, so what's our main goal for this session? Well, it's really about getting comfortable with the anatomy of these two invertebrates. But it's not just about pointing at things. The real focus is on mastering the correct English scientific keywords for each structure. This is absolutely crucial for your Z102 course, so let's make sure we get these down.
Okay, first up, our first specimen is the sea anemone. It's a really classic example from the phylum Coenteridae. Let's take a closer look and see what it's all about. Now, before we look at the anatomy, we need to know its systematic position. You can think of this like its official scientific address. Let's go through it. We have the kingdom, Animalia, subkingdom, Metazoa, phylum, Coelenterata. The class is Actinozoa, which you might also see as Anthozoa, and the subclass is Zoantharia. It's important to know where it fits in the grand scheme of things.
So, take a look at this. We've got two different views of the sea anemone here. The drawing shows you what it looks like from the outside, with the tentacles and the mouth. But the really interesting part for us today is the diagram on the left. That's a transverse section. We often call it a TS. It's like we've taken a slice right through the middle of the animal so we can see all the internal layers.
Okay, our first key English term, this is important. It's ectoderm. Try saying it, ectoderm. So what is it? It's simply the outermost layer of cells, the outer body wall. The easiest way to remember it is to think of it as the animal's skin. Now let's find it on our diagram. Look closely at the transverse section. See the label pointing to that very outer layer? That's it. That is the ectoderm. All right, so if ecto means outer, it makes sense that endo means inner, right? So our next term is endoderm. Let's say that one. Endoderm. This is the inner layer of cells, and its main job is to line the digestive cavity. It's a simple rule. Ectoderm is outer, endoderm is inner. Okay, back to the diagram again. Can you see the layer that lines the inside of the animal? It follows all those folds into the center. That's the endoderm. So you've got the ectoderm on the outside, the endoderm on the inside. These two layers are basically the fundamental structure for this type of simple animal. Okay, so we have an outer layer and an inner layer. But what's in between them? Well, there's this non-cellular, jelly-like substance called the mesoglia. It's a bit of a tricky word. Let's try it. Mesoglia. Mesoglia. And it's not just useless jelly. It's what gives the anemone its structure and support. It's almost like a very simple, jelly-like skeleton. And here on the diagram, you can see it perfectly. It's that layer sandwiched right between the ectoderm on the outside and the endoderm on the inside. That's the mesoglia. And that's exactly what gives the sea anemone that gelatinous texture if you were to touch one.
Fantastic! You're doing great. Now let's move on to our second specimen, and we're taking a pretty big step up in terms of complexity. We're looking at the planarian. This is a type of flatworm from the phylum Platyhelminthes, and you're going to see right away that this is a much more complex animal than the sea anemone.
So, just like before, let's look at its systematic position. Again, kingdom Animalia, subkingdom Metazoa. But notice the big change. Phylum is now Platyhelminthes. The class is Tubellaria, and the order is Trichilidida. So yes, we are on a completely different branch of the animal family tree now. And wow, look at this. See what I mean about complexity? This is a huge jump from the simple layers of the sea anemone. On the left diagram, we can see the digestive and the excretory systems, and on the right, you have the reproductive and nervous systems. We're not going to cover everything, but let's focus on a few of the most important structures. Okay, first key term for the planarian, and this is a big one. It's the pharynx. Let's say it, pharynx. So what is the pharynx? Well, it's this muscular tube that the planarian can actually stick out from the middle of its body to suck up food. It's a pretty amazing feeding tool. Let's find it on our diagram. Look at the image on the left, the one showing the digestive system. You can't miss it. It's that large, tube-like structure right in the center.
And notice it's sitting inside a little pouch, which we call the pharynx sheath. That's our pharynx. Okay, next, let's think about how it gets rid of waste. Unlike us, a planarium doesn't have kidneys, so it has a different system. It uses these really specialized cells called flame cells. Say that one. Flame cells. They basically do the job of a kidney, filtering out waste materials from the body.
Now, these are a bit harder to spot on the diagram. First, you need to see that network of tubes running along the body. That's the excretory canal. The flame cells are the tiny little structures connected to that network. They're small, but they're incredibly important. All right, let's shift our focus to the diagram on the right, the reproductive system. And our next key word is testes. Say it, testes. Now, these are the male organs that produce sperm. And what's really interesting in the planarian is that they're not just one or two. They are numerous and scattered all over the body. You can see them clearly on that right-hand diagram. All those little circular dots scattered about, those are the testes. It just goes to show you the incredible diversity of body plans you find in the animal kingdom. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. So before we finish, let's do a quick review of those key English terms. This is a really good moment to check your notes and make sure you have these down. Let's do a quick fire round. I'll describe it, you think of the English term. Ready? The outer body layer of the sea anemone, that's the ectoderm. The inner body layer, endoderm. The jelly-like layer in the middle, mesoglia. Okay, now for the planarian. That muscular feeding tube, the pharynx. The special excretory cell, a flame cell. And the male reproductive organ, the testes. Excellent work. And that brings us to the end of our practical session. I want to leave you with one final thought, a question to think about. Based on everything we've looked at, from the simple two-layered sea anemone to the planarian with its complex organ systems, which of these two organisms do you consider to be more advanced? And more importantly, why? There isn't just one correct answer, but thinking about it is what makes you a good zoologist. Thank you so much for your attention today, and I'll see you in the next session.